WWE reportedly is interested in signing AEW talents Danhausen and former AEW World Tag Team Champions Private Party when their current contracts with All Elite Wrestling expire soon. Yoshiki Inamura will challenge Obafemi for the NXT Championship at NXT's Great American Bash. Blake Monroe will team up with Jordan Grace at the upcoming NXT PLE. Mike Santana has been added to the TNA World Championship Triple Threat match at Slamversary. He was also on NXT last night, and a TNA World Championship contract signing has been added to the Great American Bash. Luca Crisafino is only loyal to himself and punches both Channing Stacks Lorenzo and Tony D'Angelo on NXT. Several matches and segments are confirmed for next week's episode of NXT on the CW. Will Ospreay will team with Swerve Strickland tonight on AEW Dynamite 300. The Young Bucks will also be in action on the show. Several updates on creative and plans for WWE Evolution next weekend. More details on CM Punk apologizing to Saudi Arabia, as well as an update on WWE's future in the Kingdom. Plus, Ian Riccaboni confirms he has re-signed with AEW/Ring of Honor. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Before we begin, you can see right there, we're just 5 subscribers away from 22,900. That means we're 105 subscribers away from 23,000. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join the ever-expanding WNU. Into today's stories, beginning with WWE's interest in more AEW talents. WWE are interested in potentially signing current AEW and Ring of Honor star Danhausen when his contract with Tony Khan runs out, according to a new report. Bodyslam.net reported that there is major interest from WWE in signing the 34-year-old to go along with WWE's reported interest in current AEW tag team Private Party. Like Private Party, Danhausen hasn't been seen on AEW television for some time, and his deal is set to run out at some point this month. According to Bodyslam.net, movement could happen sooner rather than later, given WWE's desire for fresh but TV-ready talent. Previous reports suggested that Danhausen believed he would be back in the fold creatively after showing up at Ring of Honor Final Battle 2024. However, he was then told there were no plans for him to be used whenever he reached out. His last appearance for AEW came all the way back in December of 2023 on the World's End 0 Hour show, where he competed in a Battle Royal. He has been active on the independent scene and at signings since then. Of course, we'll let you know any more details we get on their futures in an upcoming video. Going over to NXT, and we have an NXT Championship match for the Great American Bash. After beating Jasper Troy, Yoshiki Inamura sets his sights on Obafemi's gold. Ever since returning to NXT, Yoshiki Inamura has continued to declare that he wants to consider the bigger picture beyond his tag team friend Josh Briggs. For Inamura, that means the NXT Championship. He had previously called his shot, declaring his desire to challenge Obafemi for the gold, and after defeating Jasper Troy on NXT on July 1st, he will get his opportunity to challenge for the gold on July 12th at WWE NXT Great American Bash. Inamura had a quick face-off with the champion following his victory in the number 1 contenders match last night on NXT. Blake Monroe. She'll be teaming up with Jordan Grace at the Great American Bash. A former TNA Knockouts World Champion and AEW Women's World Champion will team up at the Great American Bash. Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe, formerly known as AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May, will face Fallon Henley and JC Jane at the WWE NXT Great American Bash on July 12th. This follows Monroe saving Grace from fatal influence on the July 1st episode of NXT. Monroe had earlier made her WWE NXT debut and was attacked by the trio after officially signing her contract. Grace is set to challenge Jane for the NXT Women's Championship the night after the Great American Bash at WWE Evolution. Mike Santana has got his wish. TNA Wrestling are on the road to Slamversary, but the main event of the show has been changed with a few weeks to go until the big pay-per-view event. Originally, TNA World Champion Trick Williams was set to put the title on the line against former champion Joe Hendry in singles competition. However, Mike Santana has been officially added to the match, making it a triple threat. Santana demanded to be added to the match on a recent episode of Impact, and TNA Director of Authority Santina Marella acquiesced to Santana's request, with TNA confirming Santana's addition on June 30th. Now, he actually appeared last night on WWE NXT along with Joe Hendry. Nobody had to say his name for Mike Santana to appear, and even the odds for Joe Hendry on the July 1st episode of NXT. The former TNA World Champion kicked off the show with a match against Wes Lee. Lee is always flanked by Tariq and Tyson DuPont and other members of High Rise, and when they tried to get involved late in the match, Mike Santana, another TNA wrestler, was there to stop them. After Joe got his victory, he and Santana eyed Trick Williams. Williams, of course, is a contracted NXT superstar who holds the TNA World Championship and will defend it against both men at the upcoming TNA Slamversary pay-per-view. But more's going to happen between now and Slamversary. Coming up on the July 12th NXT Great American Bash from Atlanta, Georgia, there were new additions to the lineup coming out of last night's edition of NXT on the CW. At TNA Slamversary, Trick Williams is going to defend the TNA World Championship in a triple threat match, as we mentioned, against Mike Santana and Joe Hendry. Before they get there, a contract signing for the match would take place at the Great American Bash. The PLE will also feature a Women's North American Championship match. There was a tag match on NXT that saw Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley score a victory over Zarya and Women's North American Champion Sol Ruka. Dame ended up pinning Ruka, and as a result, she secured herself a shot at the title at the upcoming Great American Bash. Luca Crusifino is his own man. After weeks of tension among the former members of the Tony D'Angelo family, it all came to a head on the July 1st episode of NXT when Luca Crusifino punched both Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stacks Lorenzo in the mouth. What started as a conversation between Tony and his consigliere was quickly interrupted by Stacks, the new NXT Heritage Cup champion. Luca tried to say that this was simply a conversation between him and Tony. Then Tony tried to overshadow Luca by boastfully repeating what he had just said. That's when Crusifino punched him in the mouth. Stacks took this as an opportunity to embrace Luca, but he also got punched in the mouth. This is when Luca declared that he was only loyal to himself, leaving his former teammates in the ring. There is still no sign of Adriana Rizzo, the other member of the family, who was put into hiding when the feud between Lorenzo and D'Angelo began several weeks back. Several matches and segments have been confirmed for next week's episode of WWE NXT on the CW. The lineup for the July 8th episode of NXT on the CW was pushed out, and one of the matches will see Hank and Tank defending their NXT Tag Team Championship against the Culling. Ricky Saints is aiming to get a rematch for the NXT North American Championship. But first, he must go through the Vanity Project Gauntlet. He'll have to defeat Ricky Smokes, Brad Baylor, and Evolve Men's Champion Jackson Drake. If Saints is to emerge victorious, he'll get to choose the stipulation for his title match against Ethan Page. Also on the bill is Tavern Heights versus Charlie Dempsey. If Heights secures the win, he'll earn his way out of no quarter catch crew. There's also going to be a tag team match that will see TNA's Mike Santana and Joe Hendry facing High Rise after the events of last night's episode of WWE NXT. Of course, tonight, it's episode 300 for AEW Dynamite, and there's going to be heroes versus villains. AEW President and CEO Tony Khan announced Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland will team against the Beast Mortos and Dralistico at AEW Dynamite 300 later on this evening. The match will be presented by the film Superman, of course, set to come out later this month. It's not the only match that's going to be presented by Superman. Heroes and villains will continue to collide at AEW Dynamite 300. Tony Khan announced that Konosuke Takeshita will team with the Young Bucks against Bandito, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly at AEW Dynamite 300 this evening on TBS. Once again, this match will also be presented by Superman. Now, WWE Evolution is coming up next weekend, and the show is coming together with the show now under 2 weeks away. Fightful Select reported that WWE wanted Trish Stratus for the show in a program with Tiffany Stratton, which we'll wait for that to happen on Friday. However, there were a number of other legends that were contacted. Now, Fightful say they spoke to several in WWE that said inquiries had been ongoing over the last several weeks as to who would appear at the upcoming PLE, and some of the creative and the negotiating came down to the wire. Liv Morgan's injury caused some heavy shifts for creative for the event. Fightful have been told that creative wasn't expressed to the roster for the plans for the Raw Women's Tag Team that will represent the brand at Evolution. Talent had not been told of the event before the public announcement, though many had heard the online rumours. Now, as it comes to Liv Morgan, like we just spoke about, obviously her injury has changed a lot of plans for the show. Creative plans for the second iteration of WWE's historic all-women's premium live event Evolution have seemingly been up in the air since an unfortunate freak injury to now former women's tag team champion Liv Morgan. Rumours have been swirling about what the plans for Morgan and her tag team partner Raquel Rodriguez could have been, as Morgan confronted and had words with WWE Hall of Famer Nikki Bella the week prior to suffering a shoulder injury in a match against Kairi Sane. On the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed what many fans had already wondered. Quote, "The thing with Brie, what that was going to be, the original idea is it would be the Bellas versus Liv Morgan and Raquel," Meltzer said, after Brian Alvarez noted it was weird Brie Bella said she hadn't been contacted by WWE even after her sister had appeared on TV. It was revealed on Monday night's episode of Raw that Rodriguez will defend the gold with a new tag team partner, Roxanne Perez, as a team from Raw, a team from SmackDown, and one from NXT Evolution. As of this episode, the Bella twins have not been mentioned on WWE television, and Nikki has not appeared again. Nikki is on the poster, though, not featured prominently, for the event that was recently revealed on social media. A Battle Royal where the winner will earn a world title opportunity at Clash in Paris was also announced on Raw. Women's World Champion Io Sky has also challenged Rhea Ripley for a title match at the PLE, to which the Eradicator accepted. Now, of course, we're coming out of Night of Champions, WWE's latest offering in Saudi Arabia, and CM Punk made the headlines upon his arrival in Saudi Arabia last week, where he faced backlash for seemingly pushing away a child seeking a selfie. The incident did not endear the straight-edge superstar to the country, especially after a previous tweet aimed at The Miz several years ago. After being confronted about his comments by a fan at the Night of Champions kickoff event in Riyadh, Punk apologized to Saudi Arabia, saying, quote, "This guy wants me to apologize for a mean tweet I wrote 6 years ago. Hey, listen, legitimately had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. I woke up and I was crabby and I wrote a mean tweet to The Miz and I apologized to Miz. And sir, what's your name? Mohammed? Mohammed, I sincerely apologize to you and to all of Saudi Arabia. I'm not perfect by any means. Sometimes as human beings we screw up. The beautiful thing is everything is a lesson learned, and now here I am, and you've invited me to your country, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you very much." Paul Triple H Levesque later said he was proud of CM Punk for apologizing. Now, according to Fightful Select, there wasn't any specific pressure on the former WWE champion to apologize, but he knew he was going to Saudi Arabia and that he would have to address it. People within WWE reportedly thought this was the approach the 46-year-old would take. Fightful added that Punk will likely be there a number of times in the future due to WWE's lucrative deal to produce 2 shows a year in the country. But it looks like there could be even more than that. WWE is continuing their relationship in Saudi and has a big year ahead in 2025 and 2026. Fightful Select say they spoke with sources who were instrumental in WWE Night of Champions being put together about the company's immediate future in Saudi Arabia. With Royal Rumble being announced in January, work will begin for that team on putting together the event in the next few weeks. Earlier this year, it was reported that there was only one Saudi event planned in 2025, and for good reason. They've got a heavy schedule next year. Fightful Select say they have learned that WWE is slated for 3 PLE events in Saudi Arabia in 2026. The first obviously being the Royal Rumble. In addition, there are yet to be named or announced events tentatively planned for May 2026 and November 2026 as well. The November 2026 date will naturally cause inquisition regarding Survivor Series. For the last 4 years, WWE has scheduled Survivor Series on Thanksgiving weekend. Fightful were told by one WWE source that the November Saudi show either wouldn't be Survivor Series, or if it was, it would be moved off that weekend because they couldn't envision sending talent on an overseas tour Thanksgiving weekend. And finally, Ian Riccaboni has signed a new deal with AEW/Ring of Honor. Ian Riccaboni took to social media to announce he has re-signed with AEW/ROH. Quote, "Re-signed with AEW/ROH. Very grateful and excited for what is to come. Celebrated by eating some hot dogs at the Iron Pigs at various points since reaching an agreement, which was a while ago at this point. So a lot of hot dogs for me and my family," he wrote. He then followed up by saying, "Holy smokes, a little overwhelmed by the response. The generosity in this deal will be paid forward. Part of this will continue to go towards Salisbury Youth Association as part of a community effort to reduce or eliminate costs as a barrier for kids to play sports like we did for baseball." But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. As you can see right there, we're just 5 subscribers away from 22,900. That means we're just 105 subscribers away from 23,000. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Join the ever-expanding WNU, that being the Wrestling News Universe. In addition, you can become a member of the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can click the join button or scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. Speaking of the sidebar, you can see all upcoming live streams we've got here on the channel. The live streams to SmackDown and Night of Champions last week were a major success, so hopefully we'll see more of the same. Of course, next weekend it's AEW All in Texas, followed by Saturday night's main event the very same day. And then the next day, we've got WWE Evolution. So we're going to have watch-alongs and post-shows for every single show. So be sure to join us then. I appreciate everyone for tuning in as always. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.